I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Julia. I'm so excited to chat with you and learn more about your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you've had quite an interesting sort of path up to this point. So for those that are like, okay, tell me more about this. Give me a little bit of background on sort of how you came to be where you are today.
Sure. So I'm Julia Becker Collins. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Vision Advertising. We are a 100% woman-owned, woman-run, full-service marketing agency, and our home base is outside of Boston. Right now, the home base is in my second bedroom, which has been converted into an office at the moment, but normally we're in a regular office. And we also have an office in Portland, Oregon. And we've been around for more than 21 years. So I think this is our 22nd year. But I have been doing marketing, leadership, people management, event planning, human resources, finance, legal, wearing all of the hats of a business, especially a small to mid-sized business for 17 years, I think. I came straight out of college at 22 years old and went straight into management, which is a terrible idea. I'm going to say that right at the bat. 22-year-olds don't know how to manage people. So I made lots of mistakes and I learned lots of lessons right away, which is great. But I feel really bad for the people I managed when I was 22 years old. So I started as a low to mid income property manager. I was managing, I think, a team of 10 people when I was 22 years old that were in their 50s and 60s. I had no management experience other than being an RA in college. And the people that hired me said, well, if you can be an RA at University of Massachusetts Amherst, which is a huge college, 35,000 kids, well, then you can handle this. And they were right and they were wrong. So actually, that's how I really got into marketing, because I was responsible for filling all of the properties, all of the apartments in a, very regulated space that was regulated by the state. And they just couldn't figure out how to fill these apartments. So, I took my 22-year-old brain that came straight out of college and I thought I knew everything. And I had come from this world of, doing extracurricular activities and just this grassroots idea. And my ideas were incredibly successful. And I had a 100% occupancy rate within 6 months. And the company had just never seen that before. So I did that for a while and I learned what I liked, what I didn't like. And from there, I ended up going to law school for a year, which is great if you like law school and not necessarily great if you want to be a lawyer. And I got myself into a lot of debt, and I really found the parts of the law that I love. So I really like dealing with the legal side of things for our business, but I discovered I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I took my 1 year of law school debt and I left. And I ended up in marketing and event planning at large nonprofits in Boston. And I, went from managing large teams of people at a big nonprofit to even larger teams of people at a smaller nonprofit. I've worked at companies where their entire operating budget for the entire company is $300,000, which is, I mean, anybody that owns or runs a company bigger than themselves knows that that is incredibly small.
Right.
To working and managing teams of people and being responsible for huge operating budgets at companies that are in multi-million-dollar companies. So I did that for a really long time. I did fundraising, event planning, etc. And then I kind of hit this place where I'm sure a lot of people hit where they're like, this is great, but there's got to be more, right? I'm really excited about fundraising. I'm really excited about event planning, but I really love people management and I like kind of the problem solving of making the business better. And how can I mix that with my love of marketing? So I got a master's degree in business and I really just took myself, I was determined to take myself out of that position in my career and move myself into the C-suite. And if you ask my husband, he'll tell you I'm the most determined person that's ever existed. And I just was like, that's it. This is what I'm doing. I want to lead a company. I'm not a great employee. I'm a great leader. I really want to, be responsible for fixing and breaking things. I don't do great when other people tell me what to do. And within, I would say, 4 years of finishing my master's degree, I had gone from being a manager level to being a VP. So I really did move myself forward. And along the way, I had a number of health crises. I, bought a house. I, had all the normal things that happen in a life, and you're trying to mix what happens in your day-to-day life, because your life is more than just your job, and move my career forward because I'm, very career focused. And then I joined Vision Advertising 4.5 years ago, I want to say, as the vice president, with a clear path to take over as COO. And I loved it, and I still love it, and it's fantastic. Our CEO founded the company, and she was just really ready to step down, which if I was doing something for 18 years, I would want to step down as well. So she was handing things over. So I've been running the show for a while. But last year in 2020, just to give you a very high level of what happened, when everybody's going through the pandemic, we were obviously going through that with our clients and with my staff, and I'm trying to transition my staff to go from being in an office to going work from home and securing the financial future of the company and making sure I don't have to furlough people, et cetera. I was actually going through a personal health crisis of being diagnosed with cancer. So last year was really a bad year.
Yeah, not to add stress onto everything else that was actually happening.
No, it's just a pandemic and cancer. Oh, and I broke my elbow last year. So it was just imagine the most type A personality person you've ever met, most extroverted person ever, now cannot be around other human beings because I'm the most high risk person that's ever existed. And I have one arm in a sling. And I'm at the hospital all the time getting tests done, which is the epicenter of the pandemic in the Boston area, which is where the East Coast epicenter of the pandemic. It was just make yourself crazy.
Pandora's box, right?
Right,
I need to go to the hospital, which is the highest risk place that I shouldn't be.
And running a company.
Not a problem.
That's fine. Everything's fine. Totally okay.
So obviously we're sitting here and chatting today. So, I mean, you somehow made it through, but even just going through all of that, what were some of the things that you did to help you not lose your mind?
It's a great question. And I get asked that a lot. So as I said to you before we started recording, I have 3 pets. So I have an amazing husband. I have an incredible support system. My family doesn't live locally. My family's all in California, whereas we live in the Boston area. So once the pandemic hit, I really couldn't see my family anymore, which is very unfortunate. We did a lot of video chatting. But I have an amazing husband. I'm very lucky to have great in-laws. So I definitely lucked out with that. But we have 2 cats, and then we adopted a pandemic puppy, which is great. And then also chaos.
Is also a puppy.
A puppy. I've never had a puppy. I also don't have kids. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But the nice thing about that is that it kind of forces me to focus on something that's not me. That's not my cancer. That's not my, treatment. That's not my side effects. But it also, the thing that's really nice that I keep trying to remind myself of when I'm like going crazy with the puppy is, because she has to be on a schedule, I have to be on the schedule. And I do best with the treatment side effects and everything. I'm trying to get myself to, to take the best care of myself. I do best when I'm on a schedule. And I'm sure like a lot of your listeners, and maybe like you, if you're like, go, 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 you forget breakfast, you forget to eat, all you've had is coffee all day, double espresso will get you till 3 p.m., but suddenly your stomach hates you. So this helps me be like, okay, she's eating, I'm going to eat. She needs to go for a walk. Great. Now I'm going to, I go for the walk. It's incredibly helpful. But in addition to that, I'm also, before I got diagnosed, I was an endurance athlete. So in addition to everything else, right, because I don't have enough going on, I was running ultra marathons, which are anything that's longer than a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. So I run things that are like 50 miles, which sounds crazy. It's definitely a certain breed of crazy. I know. It'll help. I think about it like meditation, right? Because you can only think about the thing you're doing. So if you're running that far, you can't think about the emails. You can't think about the puppy. You can't think about the business. You can't think about the cancer. You can only do the thing you're doing. So that's how it helps me. And so after I got diagnosed, but before I started treatment, so like in April, when the weather started to get nice in the Boston area, I started running really, really long distance, like by myself, just to do it, to take care of myself. And I've always been somebody who has really preached to my staff self-care. I think it's incredibly important, especially as a woman in leadership, a young woman in leadership. We can get so caught up in, go, 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 only focusing on the business, but then you're going to burn out and there's not going to be anything left. And I have a lot of friends that are, entrepreneurs and mothers, and they never focus on themselves. All they focus on is the kids and the business. But then suddenly you're in the hospital. I actually have a dear friend that's in that situation right now. And if you don't take the time to take care of yourself, you're not going to be there to take care of your business and your family later. So I have always preached, if you need to go to a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, if you're a long distance runner. I had somebody that worked for me that was running the Boston Marathon, that just tell me your schedule. I'm going to do the same and prioritize your health. And then the work gets done when the work gets done. And so, taking care of myself through all of this has been the same, carving out time to go for walks, carving out time to go now that I can run again. For a while, I really couldn't. Going for a run, doing yoga, etc. Trying to prioritize, things that make me feel good. And then also remembering that like the advice that people give you comes from a really good place. But when they say, well, maybe you shouldn't be running, it's too much on your body, they're not living inside of your body. You need to do what's right for you, which is the same whether you have cancer or you're running a business.
Yeah. And I love that because I think that that's a key thing that people don't think about is they think like right now, I feel guilty, taking time for myself or carving out of the day or someone else needs me more or whatever the case, because we don't think ahead to the point that, well, if I don't do this now, then later, instead of just being out for that day or that couple of hours, I'm going to throw myself out for weeks. And I like that you do that with your staff because I was the same way. I got stuck. I remember when I first started my business, I was very stuck in that 9 to 5 mindset because that's where I came from. And then when I started to realize
Mhm.
I don't care when you do it, it just needs to be done. Like, here's the deadline.
Exactly.
Here's when if you work best at 2 in the morning, work at 2 in the morning. Like, as long as it gets done when it needs to be
Exactly.
done. And that's a lot more, I love that, because I think that's more freeing to your staff too, because they're able to do those things that are important to them, that keep them happy and excited to work with you.
Exactly. I think as a small business leader, a mid-sized business leader, an entrepreneur, what happens a lot of the time, especially when you start hiring, is that you feel like you're competing for talent against these huge companies that can pay so much more money. And that's true, right? I can't compete against Staples or TJX or BJ's or these. I can't pay you $300,000. Like, that's crazy. I don't have that money. But what I can do is create a culture that gives you the flexibility to live your best life. And that's such like an Oprah cliche saying, but it's true, because I don't think that your work is your whole life. And it's crazy to think that it is. I want you to have work as part of your life. And I want you to do work in the best way that it works for you. You're an adult. I hired you as a professional. Here are your deadlines. Here are the expectations. I'm available to you. Go do your job. If you can figure out how to do your job from a beach in Maui, go do that. That's fine. And I think, like you were saying about coming from the structure where it's like 9 to 5, I definitely had that. When I was working at big, big, big nonprofits in Boston, you had to be at your desk at a certain time. And they want to know where you were. And I'm like, I'm driving 2 hours each way in traffic. I'm not showing up at 9 a.m. I'm still sitting, crawling, trying to get there. And I would get there, early, because that's the only way I could get to the office. And I'd be like, what's the point? Why am I here? I'm not more productive at 8:30 in the morning. I'm probably less productive at 8:30 in the morning. But there's just this rigidity that doesn't speak to somebody's productivity. And I think when you're hiring and you're a smaller business, one of the things you could be doing is, create a culture, create, non-monetary benefits that speak to the professionals that want to get out of the rat race. And that is what I have done with Vision Advertising and the amazing staff that I have. My team is incredible. I could talk about them all day, but a lot of the people I hire are people that are like, I use this term loosely, refugees of the corporate 9 to 5 commute to Boston, that don't want that commute, that don't want to sit in a cubicle all day, that don't want to, have to thumbprint into their computer in the morning, and that don't want to be micromanaged. So I think, your listeners that are struggling, trying to figure out how to compete and hire talent, I really think the non-monetary benefits are things that set small businesses apart.
Yeah. And so let's gear into a little bit of marketing for small businesses, because I think too, some of the other struggles that a lot of people are facing that we're hearing is that people are like, it's so different now. And it's such a dog-eat-dog world, regardless of where you are, in the food chain. It's hard to, marketing is a tough thing, but I think what often people go, I just can't afford it. Like, that's their first thing,
Right.
is it's so expensive to get out there. So let's talk a little bit about some tips, and then what you guys have, sort of created to help these small to medium businesses kind of start feeling like they can be out on that same playing field.
Absolutely. So we work with businesses of all sizes, right? So I often get asked, are we too small for you? Are we too big for you? And that's just not a thing for us. I more look for a business that's the right fit, right? So, and I get set, I have conversations with people a lot, and they say, well, it's just, I know I need the marketing, but I just can't afford the marketing.
Right.
Like you said, I hear that from people all the time. I hear that from people in Facebook groups I'm in. I hear that from other entrepreneurs. And it's really, you feel like you're in this catch-22 of like, I know I need it. I know I need it to help grow my business and sustain my business, but I just can't find the money. And I will tell you, and I just gave this talk to a group. It was a Facebook Live that another woman, she has a Facebook group that she put on, and I came in and I talked about like, what is the best use of your marketing resources? So you could pay somebody like me, you could do it yourself, et cetera, but where do you put your resources? And that's one of the biggest questions we get asked. And the thing to keep in mind is that A, there's no silver bullet. There's no silver bullet in marketing. And I think people are always looking for a silver bullet, and unfortunately there isn't. B, when you think about resources, you need to think about more than just money. The thing that is more valuable than money is time. Time is the most valuable resource you'll ever have, because you can make your money back, you can earn it back, you can sell another, client, you can bring that income back in, but you will never get your time back. So when you decide to do your marketing yourself, which is a totally valid choice, you will just never get the time back that you were investing in doing your marketing yourself. And if you decide to, just throw things at the wall and see what sticks, which we call spaghetti marketing, the time that you invested in that, you will never get back. So the best way to figure out what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, is to spend time upfront creating a strategy, which I think frustrates people because they want to just be like, okay, tell me, Julia, should I be posting on Facebook 3 times a week at 8 a.m.? There is no cookie cutter solution. What you need to do is figure out who your ideal client is, who you sell to, where they make buying decisions, and what language they speak. And I'm doing a very high level gloss over of this. And these sometimes sound like scary management terms, but this is how you figure out who you sell to and how to speak their language so they buy what you're selling. And that way you can say, okay, great. I sell to Susie Q in Ohio, and she's 45 years old, white, and has 2 kids. She makes buying decisions on Facebook, and she's on at 7 a.m. while the kids are having breakfast. Then I should be posting at 7 a.m. on Facebook. But until you do the deep dive of who you're selling to and where they make buying decisions, you can't figure out where to do the marketing. I just did a intensive webinar about this. If you go to the Vision Advertising Facebook page, you will find our past webinars and our upcoming webinars. To speak to your question about the resources we have recordings of past webinars and all the information about upcoming webinars. We put on at least 1 per month, and they're all focused on the marketing, management, and operation needs of small to mid-sized businesses. And they're either completely free or very low cost. And they're all deep dive on specific topics. So we did one about ideal client profile, which is basically how do you narrow the focus of your marketing to increase your sales. We did one about making social media work for you, because we have a lot of small business owners that we talk to that want to understand, well, what platform should I be on, right? Similar to your question. We have one coming up next week, actually, that is about why you should have a marketing strategy. And I think that one is so popular. I think we're doing it about 3 times in the next 6 months. And we often partner with other companies, Better Business Bureau, Center for Women in Enterprise, et cetera, to produce webinars for them, because there is a need for this type of professional development for small to mid-sized businesses. Like you said, marketing is such a tough thing. You need it, but it's not your expertise. Say you make sweaters. That's the example I always use. If you sell sweaters, you know how to make a sweater, you know how to make it soft, you know how to make it cozy. The sweater I'm wearing now, I saw an ad for it. I just, clicked on it and I bought it. They really got me with the Instagram ads. But you know about that, right? You don't necessarily know about the marketing side of it. And I'm a big believer of staying in your lane. I don't know how to make a sweater. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to dye the yarn. I don't know how to, fit it on somebody. And I don't know anything about, what colors go together. We have somebody on our staff that deals with all the making things pretty. But I'm really good at telling you how to, based on your objectives and your goals and your business, how to find the people you should be selling to. And when I say should, that's why we call it ideal client. That's not necessarily who you're currently selling to. It's who you want to be selling to. So if you're selling to Jane in San Francisco, but you're only making $5 a sweater, but you could be selling to Susie in Ohio and making $15 a sweater, and you pay less in shipping, isn't that a better deal? So when we talk about ideal client, we talk about who you want to be selling to and where they make buying decisions. And then you can make marketing decisions from there. I'm hoping that answered your question.
No, it does. And I think that, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but I think that people get stuck, especially now, of just going, well, I don't know, my ideal audience is anybody who has money.
Yes.
Like that's who it
Oh,
is.
yes.
And that they get stuck because they're like, I don't know how to answer this question. Like, people are always saying like, there's so much stuff like create your avatar of your, and they're like, I don't know. Like, right. I don't know what I want. That. I want this person to have a wallet. That's what I want.
Right. I just had this conversation. They're like, I sell to all women. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't sell to all women because A, all women don't speak English and you only speak English. B, all women don't have the money to buy what you are selling. C, not all women have the attention span to listen to you. Right? Like we could just tick off the thing. And this is called ideal client, not everyone you could sell to.
Right.
What I keep trying to stress to people is when you create this avatar, I'm doing air quotes, avatar, which to me, I keep here, like, wasn't there a movie where everybody's blue and it's like something like, that's what I think of when we call it avatar. That's why I don't think of it like that. But when you create this avatar or a cartoon character in your head of the ideal person you sell to, you do that so that you can focus your marketing and you can be a better business owner or a better leader. That doesn't mean you don't sell to other people. And that's what I think people struggle with. When I tell people to sell to Susie in Ohio, you can still sell to Jane in San Francisco. Make the $5, have at it. That's just gravy on top of your very focused marketing campaign.
Right.
You want to speak the language and direct it at the people you want to make the most money off of that are interested in what you're selling. If other people buy, that's awesome. I'm so excited if other people buy, and they will. But you need to speak the language of the people that have the highest return on investment for you, so you have the highest chance of bringing in the income. There's a lot of fear around narrowing your scope of marketing because there's a fear that you'll make less money, but you will make more money. You will increase your sales if you narrow the focus of who you market to, because somebody will see themselves in your brand. That is why narrowing the focus works.
Well, and I think it helps to think too of who is it that you actually want to deal with? Because like you said, you can sell, to that one person who you're making $5 on, but they're difficult. They're the ones that complain about everything. Yep. They're the ones, so it takes a lot more time. Whereas the other one is, she's just like, no, I don't want to have any parties. Just give me the stuff and I'm going to give you my credit card and just run it. Like that. Then you're like, oh, I love you. You're so easy. Just send me the stuff.
Exactly. I talk about that as emotional ROI, right? Emotional return on investment. The client, you could pay me $1,000 a month, but if you're calling me Friday at 10 p.m. and you want to talk for an hour, and then Sunday, and my hours, and you're violating that boundary, is that emotional ROI worth it? If you're at the beginning of your business, maybe it is. You have to make that decision. But for me, that is not worth it. I would rather have somebody who is $700 a month and respects my boundaries and tells me how much they appreciate the work that we do and leaves us to do that work and asks great questions, communicates really well, answers the phone when we call, pays their bill on time, those kinds of things. So I'd rather make a lower amount of money with a higher emotional ROI for me, for where I am in our business. But, you have to make that decision. But I think the emotional stress and the time sink of dealing with very high need clients is another reason why people burn out, and another reason why marketing can be so stressful.
Well, and I think it just makes your day difficult too. Like, and I love it. Like, that's what I always do. I sit down and I look, okay, what's my return of investment on this particular client, and what's my ROH, my return on happiness? Is this going to
Yeah.
be somebody, you know, that, like you said, is going to be constantly asking me like all the time? And it's like, nope. I'm like, is this somebody I have to train? It's like the puppy thing. I don't want to take puppies anymore on, because I know I don't want to have to deal with the peeing on the carpet and all of that other stuff. I want the ones that, you know, are easy and I can just throw them a bone and they'll go amuse themselves for a little bit.
Exactly. Like, how trainable is the puppy? That's
Right.
sort of, I'll take on the puppy, but it better be a really smart puppy. So, and like, if you're selling a service, that's where you can vet the client. And I think people forget that during the sales process, they just are so focused on bringing in the money. You should be vetting the client to determine if it's a good fit, right? Like, it should be like dating. Is this a great fit for you? Is it a good fit for them? Because you're going into a relationship.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that that's a really important thing that you said there for people that are in the service industry, is really doing that and just saying, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit, which shocks people. I know, because I just did it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I know that my assistant was like, that would have been a really big client. And I'm like, yes, but him and I do not see eye to eye. And I just know that our personalities won't click. So in the end, it's going to end up being difficult. And I don't want that. So I would rather say no and wait for something else to come in. Because again, I'm looking at more of a bigger picture. How is this going to turn out? Because it was a longer term thing. This wasn't something that was like a short project that I can go, can I deal with this for 3 months? Like, is that worth it? You know, to me?
Exactly. If we're doing a project, a one-time project, and building a website, etc., okay, if our personalities are off, that's fine. But if we're going into a 1-year contract together, excuse me, I either had better just genuinely like you or want to have cocktails with you. Because it's a relationship. We're going to have a relationship. And, you know, vetting the client, I think, also creates an amazing opportunity to have a really transparent conversation with them about, you know, I don't know if this is a great fit, or we're not going to provide the best service for you, and I want you to have the best opportunity, which I genuinely do. Even if we're not the best fit, I still want them to have a great experience. So let me tap my network and refer you to somebody. So then my network is happy, this potential client is happy, and everybody has a better experience. And I think this is another opportunity that small to mid-sized businesses have of creating this referral network, where then they can refer to you and you can refer to them when you have a better understanding of exactly what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's so true. And I know that I have found, like, when I've done that, or, you know, when I had that conversation and said, look, I just don't think we're a good fit. Here's the reasons why. Here's what I think you're specifically looking for. What ended up happening is that they kind of went, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that's a good idea. Maybe I'm looking for the wrong type of help. And then I was able to pass it on, and I'm like, I know who this person you'll get along with really great. Like, you two are going to jive together. You and me are going to, you know, and it's true. It's like picking that relationship. And I think the older I get, the more I target in on that, because I'm like, this can be like a marriage. So do I want to be with you that much?
Exactly. I think the you know, further I get in my career, the older I get, I don't have it in me to like just fake the excitement. You know, I really want to hang out with my clients that I really like, or just at least be neutral on it, right? And not want to, you know, when you see their name on your phone, be like, no. You should want to pick up the phone when your client is calling. If you do not want to pick up the phone when your client is calling, it is a bad match.
Yeah.
So
let's talk. In 2020, you kind of have set up this Vision University to really kind of help all of the stuff that we've been talking about. So tell us a little bit more about where that sort of idea came from, and then how you've implemented that.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you brought that up. We, you know, in 2020, like I was saying earlier, we spent so much time with our clients and just internally trying to create the best structure possible to support small to mid-sized businesses through, I hate saying unprecedented times because I sound like a Lexus commercial, but unprecedented times. And, you know, the theme of our conversation being, you know, marketing is something everybody needs, but people don't think to invest in. So we decided to create a free resource of this huge library of video recordings with all kinds of business, marketing, operations, leadership experts between our CEO, Laura, and these experts with specific topics. And it's an amazing resource available to anybody. So it's vision-university.com. You can also access it by the Vision Advertising website, vision-advertising.com. It's right on the top. And it's called our Success Series. There's an interview with the editor of the Worcester Business Journal about how to get your news in print, which is one of the biggest questions I get. And people pay us to do that. And I'm happy for you to pay me to do it, but I'm telling you, it's not that hard. So go watch the video, you know, or an amazing interview with this incredible executive success coach who talks about cutting through the BS and figuring out how to be happy. And as a leader, it's something that we don't talk about a lot, but we should be talking about a lot. And this woman, she used to run huge teams of people at PayPal internationally. She's done keynote addresses, and she sat down with us to do this interview. These are free resources for people to learn, to gain that professional development skill while we're all at home, right? I don't want to say stuck at home, but we're all at home.
We're stuck here.
I have 20 inches of snow out my window, so I'm stuck.
We're snowing. Yeah, I'm in Alberta, Canada. We're snowing right now, but it looks pretty, and I'm okay to be inside today.
It's pretty while I'm inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, you know, I had this conversation with a kid. I say kid because he just graduated college, but he's trying to find his first, you know, big boy job. And he was trying to figure out, well, do I get a HubSpot certification? Do I do this? How do I make myself more marketable to businesses during such a strange time when I can't go to networking events, et cetera? And I said, build your own certificate. Go on the Vision University site and watch every video there, because then you're going to have a set of skills and information that a ton of people don't have. Go to all of our webinars. Make yourself so marketable as a current executive, as a future executive, as somebody searching for a job, as somebody leading a company, because there are so many resources I know that we are putting out through Vision University and through the Vision Advertising Facebook page that you could create your own, build it your own self, you know, graduate certificate at this point. And that's why we called it Vision University, because it's really a educational resource for people who are searching for some more professional development to move their business, their marketing forward. And if you go through the Success Series and you're like, this is fantastic, I loved these videos, what else do you have? The next step is marketing introductions course. So this is a great option for people where they're like, okay, I know I need marketing. I cannot pay Vision Advertising, you know, X amount of dollars per month to do the marketing for me. I cannot hire somebody young to even take on my marketing. And I don't trust my 15-year-old son to do my Facebook page. Don't have your 15-year-old son do your Facebook page.
I wouldn't even let my 20-year-old self touch my business page anymore.
I get so many questions about, can't my high schooler do an internship for my business and run my Facebook business page? And I said, well, would you be comfortable with him responding to negative feedback? No. So this next step, the marketing course, it's a very low cost course that gives you the tools to do things for free. So this goes back to what I said initially about your resources. It's time or it's money or it's both. So this is lower cost, higher time investment, which that is what sometimes people have. They have more time, less money. And that is where this comes in. So we wanted to continue to create an abundance of resources at different price points at different commitment levels for people. Just like when we have all of our webinars, we record them, we put them on our website, on our blog, they're on our Facebook page. We try to create them in an accessible way for everyone. We really are, trying to create as many resources as possible.
And I think that that's really important. And that was one of the things why I wanted to talk to you so much when I was, kind of digging into everything, was that was something that you don't see a lot. Because I know myself, I remember, even 10 years ago looking at stuff, and there was so much stuff that was out there, but I was like, I'm tired of the beginner stuff over and over and over again. I'm past that point. I need something, but again, sometimes you get into that little niche where you're like, I need something more, but I'm not really ready to let go of stuff.
Right.
And then, so I think that this is great that people can look at all of these resources, take them, learn what they need to learn. And then, like you said, make that decision. Is
Right.
this something that I really like to do? And maybe this is something I'm passionate about doing as part of my business? Or am I like, you know what, someone else needs to do this because this kind of sucks.
I think, I've had so many conversations with business owners over the years where they really want somebody to come in and take over their marketing, but just handing the reins over is such an emotional decision, and handing the money over is such an emotional decision. I feel like this is bridging the gap, and it helps you make an educated decision as a business owner, because you should not write that check. You should not commit to that contract unless you are 100% in. And this helps you decide, is this the best choice for your business, or do you take the time to do it yourself, which is a totally valid decision. You have to do the marketing one way, or you have to do it the other way. And this helps you figure out, should I do it myself? And I just take the resources I have, spend a little bit of money here on a webinar, do a free webinar here, network with some people online. I feel like I can spend my time on things. Or I want to spend a little bit of money here. I want to, spend more money over here, etc. We really created it because one of the core values of Vision Advertising is having an impact on the community. We're not a nonprofit, but we do believe in having positive impact on the greater community. We're a strongly feminist company, and we believe that it's important to affect those around you.
I love that. So if someone's sitting there and they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do all the things. It's great to know about it, but I don't want to do all of the things.
That's okay.
Where's the best place for them to get a hold of you to learn a little bit more about working with you and your team?
Absolutely. So you can find us online, vision-advertising.com. You can find us on all the social media channels. So we are on Instagram at Vision Advertising Rocks, because we do. You can find me personally on Instagram at Julia Rivka. That's R as in Rachel, I, V as in Victor, K-A. You'll see all my animals. You'll see my running. You'll see some work. Food. I love food. And then you can find us on Facebook, which I really recommend, because you'll see all of the different webinars and professional development resources. That really is just Vision Advertising. We're on LinkedIn, and we're on Twitter, Vision Advertising. And you can connect with us at any of those platforms.
So we'll make sure we have the quick click links on our blog post so everybody can just go there and pick their favorite avenue. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and you just gave so much great information. So I really appreciate that. And I do encourage people to definitely head out and check out the Vision University. I've been snooping around on it today. It's actually up on my other screen. And now I was sitting there and I'm like, ooh, I want to watch, that one. I like that
you got it. So the top two, I think, are the Brad Kane and the Michelle Mercier. Those are my top two recommendations.
We'll make sure we link to those ones as well.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much. And I look forward to staying connected and seeing all of the amazing stuff that you're offering. I think that this is a very, very valuable resource, whether you're a marketing guru or whether you just need a little bit more information.
Awesome. This was such a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
As always, you can head to our website at foxtalksbusiness.ca. Click on blogs on the left-hand side of the page. You will find this episode, a little bit more information about Julia, and of course, all of the links where you can connect with her on social media, as well as find information about her Vision University. I would love if you could take a few minutes, if you haven't already, to subscribe, hit the notification button for our podcast wherever you love listening to it, and if possible, leave a review. This all helps us to continue to bring quality interviews like Julia to you. And I just really love hearing from you guys and what it is that you're looking for. So keep those messages coming in. So no matter what you're doing today, whether you're taking on marketing by yourself or letting someone else do all of the things, make sure that you find time to have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why the hell are you doing it?